as you know, he died on April 8th, and his funeral was a couple weeks later, and it was almost finals here in Indiana. And I was a sophomore, and I drove home, and I was so upset I actually got lost on the way home. I had to call my brother to get directions back.
Wow.
I was just, and I drove here to the Indiana Memorial Union, and I went up to, I was in a student government at the time, the Student Alumni Association, and Jeff Jones was the assistant executive director, and I went to see him and just, sat down to talk to him, and he was like, wow, it's really sad, how are you doing? We were talking, and he was in the middle of watching some TV clips, and I'm like, well, what am I interrupting? And he said, well, I'm a judge for these philanthropy events across the country, and one of the ones that he was looking at was the Penn State has a similar dance marathon. And just within 2 minutes, he's like, we should do one of these. And I'm like, we should do it for Ryan. And he was like, and it can benefit Riley Hospital for children. So, it was the day of Ryan's funeral that came together. And then really it was the support of Indiana University and 12 amazing student leaders that came together. And now, over the last 20 years, it's been 10,000 amazing student leaders. And, I'm very proud because one of the things that we set out to do is said that we didn't want a cookie-cutter organization for students where you just get a notebook and go have a luncheon, and it's the same luncheon with the same menu every year.
Of course.
The whole concept of this was, let's have students run this thing. And they really do. And, now they're raising, over $1 million a year and doing it for the hospital and for children. And it's for a good cause that really touches their heart. And it's part of the Indiana, the medical center and the university.
Of course. Yeah,
I think Indiana should be very proud of their students.
Well, you should be proud of
the idea. And it's the second
idea.
Largest philanthropy in the country.
Is that right?
Second largest student run,
Oh, is that right? In the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, then that's really a tribute to your idea.
Well,
that's a tribute to all their work, too. But, it's a real a plus for the university, and I'm sure at the medical center it's a great thing for them. And it's a part of a way that people can really demonstrate their affection for Ryan and hope that research continues.
And in the logo for Dance Marathon, Ryan White's name is in cursive.
The way he writes, I've seen that signature.
You have to look for it, but his name is in...
Is that right? Oh, in the logo. I'll have to do that.
In the logo, there's two dancers that are kind of modern dancers, and it says Ryan White is one of...
It's an incredible story. The day of his funeral is the day the idea emerged. Wow. So then what? After the idea, what was next?
Well, it was a startup,
a
startup company.
11,000 the first year, I think.
11,000 the first year. It took a year and a half to actually do it. That
of
was
course.
in April, and it didn't happen until a whole year went by, and then the next fall. So then we identified who we thought were the 12 top leaders on campus from various organizations. We had the presidents from most of the other organizations, and they came together. We had the dormitories, and we had the Greek houses, and we had independents, and we had the politicians, and everyone worked hours.
I bet.
We were all full-time students, and I bet we put another 30 or 40 hours on top of that a week and all summer long, which is still
really?
We used to have executive meetings for 6 hours on Monday night, and they still do. It probably put in more time than we do now.
Yeah. So then the first time it occurred was when you were a senior?
91.
Right, so you got, as a student, you were able to experience being involved one time. Yeah,
one
then
time.
And you'd probably been back several times.
Yeah, I think I've missed 4 or 5 just because of
of course.
children.
Right, right, but it's a
special event. And
Saturday is, right.
You bet.
Yeah, right, and many students always remember, if they're involved, when they talk about their experience at IU, many of them talk about that.
And really the event is not the experience.
Yes, sure.
The experience comes from behind the scenes when the students go to Riley on tour. And they see the sick children. That's the first thing they do is take all the committee members down to Riley. This is why we do this. They meet the families, they meet the kids, they see what the hospital's all about. There's a lot of inspiration to them.
Of course.
There's a lot of... there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of planning, but it's the skills that you acquire when you're part of that. So the planning for any event, it doesn't matter what the event is.
Exactly.
And I think that is a win for everyone because the students have a lot of those skills to start with, but they get to refine them and then take them on in their lives.
And I think it's probably then the perfect example of the value of extracurricular activities beyond the classroom.
Yes.
on a college campus, because when they're successful on this and had a leadership role, I think any future employer would be really impressed with that, because then they could illustrate these skills and able to pull it off and be able to do it. So, there's a lot of people very, very thankful for what you did, because you hadn't driven down here that day. I mean, who knows? It's sometimes the circumstance, but it takes someone with vision and passion like you.
I just can't take all the credit, because it was, the amazing people that came together, and the administration in Indiana was supportive, and Jeannie was around, supportive, and Dr. Kleiman and Riley. I mean, it was a group of people.
But they always need a catalyst. So let's look back again a little bit about Ryan. You probably have thought of this and some, but maybe you have a chance here to articulate it. How did Ryan change your life, or did he?
Oh yeah, Ryan had great impact on me. I always go back and say, when you're 17 or 18 years old, you're very self-centered. Your world revolves around very superficial things, and I always say my biggest decision that day was, what jeans do I wear, or the Jordache jeans or the Lee jeans. Sure. And so having someone come in, meeting someone who is dying from a horrible disease, and decided to spend that time in his life, he was very aware that he was very at peace with that. He wanted to live, but he also had a great acceptance that he may not. And therefore, he was going to spend his life to help other people. I don't think most human beings could do what he did.
Particularly maybe as a teenager even.
And as a teenager.
Yeah, life experiences.
He was an amazing human being. And I still try on days when I, wake up or you want to complain about something, I still try to think about Ryan.
Oh, wow.
And put us, kind of think that life's, bigger than this, and that you should wake up every morning and be grateful to be alive, and try to do good things for other people. And so I think he had a profound impact on me and many other people.
And
but knowing someone like that changed.
Of course.
And then, of course, I took Ryan to I went with some of his doctor's appointment, and meeting Dr. Kleiman really inspired me to be a physician.
Yeah.
So
wow.
That changed me.
And I suspect, of course, this impact is lifelong.
Yeah.
In a lot of different ways, just like you said, to remind oneself.
Well, and as a mother now, and to know Jeannie too, I feel that how she was a mother is really quite a role model for other mothers.
Sure.
And again, for her to have to go through what she still has to go through.
Yeah, still. What do you think was Ryan's most important message?
Oh, I think his most important message is treat each other with kindness. And, that we're all human beings, and there's no room for prejudice on any level.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter what we're talking about.
Great. How would you like for people to remember Ryan?
Well, I think to remember him for, the hope and his strength, and for how one child changed the face of an entire disease.
Yeah, they're right. One person.
And to carry that message on. Yeah, it's one person who did what was right for other people.
So now it's been 20 years ago since his death. I mean, does it seem possible?
No, it went fast. I wish he was still here.
Sure. But what does that mean to you, that 20 years? I mean, what are your feelings associated about it? I mean, I guess you just expressed it, but do you have anything to add to that, or?
Well, I like I said, I feel sad that we lost Ryan and many other AIDS patients. I think it's a huge victory now that we can keep AIDS patients alive.
Sure.
It's a horrible disease. They still suffer, but it's a chronic disease now.
Yeah,
when you have a diagnosis of AIDS or of HIV, it's not a death sentence. So I think that Ryan would be happy for that.
Sure.
And I wouldn't have thought, now a lot of people talk the other way, that we should have a cure by now or a vaccine.
Yeah.
There's not many diseases that you can come this far that quickly.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you look at MS or cancer, we've been battling a lot of diseases for 100 years. And in 20 years, we can keep people alive.
Yeah. That is a great achievement.
It really is. So the scientists, the CDC, the research, really the antiretroviral drugs, and there's new ones coming out every day. You know,
Sure,
I think it's been quite an accomplishment.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure he would have, been pleased the fact that medicine was able to do some of this stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I just hope that the world continues to listen to Ryan and his message, and not discriminate, and to educate, as we learned today. You know, behavioral,
Of course, right.
being safe for the for the ways we know how you can contract AIDS to prevent.
I think it's a really great point. I think many people maybe can continue his message in their own different way. The principles and the ideas of he had the value of awareness, the value of knowledge, but also the value and the humane aspect of being compassionate with individuals. Well, thank you for sharing your ideas, and thank you for what you did for starting the IU Dance Marathon. I mean, certainly that is one of the most significant things on campus. It's really helping the hospital, but it's also helping continue the legacy of Ryan, and certainly a worthy cause. And gosh, just thanks for being his friend and being there at that moment. And I think a lot of people appreciate that too. So thanks, Jill.
Well, thank you for recognizing Ryan. I think it's wonderful that you have done this.
All right.